All right, welcome back from a long hiatus. Sorry it took me so long. I was sick, and then I couldn't find the proper right time to record. So now that I am recording again, and I know I'm gonna sound a little bit different because I don't got my headphones in, because my computer decides that it don't want to work with my headphones, so I'm just recording straight from the computer. If it's any noticeable difference, or something bad with it, let me know in the fucking comments, please. Because, yeah, I do listen. I do scope through the comments. And I was sick the last 2 weeks. So I'm all cleared up now. So I'm going to continue with part two of Carmine. So I'm going to continue, like, in his house. And I'm doing this from the top of my head, so don't worry. So always when I'm fucking recording. I can never yawn before or after. It's always during the fucking recordings. Alright, so as I stated, it was after debriefing his family. He goes into his room, does his workout, and then, takes off his helmet, and a projection of all the older Carmines come out. And they're basically like telling him, like, okay, that was a good job you did. Because, I'm gonna just say their minds are kind of in the chips, so they can see what he's doing. So they don't tell him during what he's doing, but they give him advice like when the situation truly needs it. So basically, they're basically telling like, "Oh, you did a good job here. You could have ended it easier, like here. We know your power and everything, so you should have done this, this, and the third." Clay's giving it more like telling them like you should have beat him into like the dirt and shit. And Benjamin and Anthony saying, "Oh, you did a good job. You stuck to what you know." And Clay's like, "The fuck are y'all talking?" And yeah. Lizzie's basically praising them because she's like the feminine of all of them. So yeah. And then I'm gonna skip a little bit of. I'm not gonna skip a little bit forward. So that was Heroes versus Villains. I remember now. So I'm gonna go matter of fact, how much time passed? I think about a week passed, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a week passed into the fucking it was the USJ arc. So about a little bit passed. Let's see. Fucking what's the name? He fucking Deku is getting used to. I mean, his friends are mainly like, how do I say this? Fuck, Ida, Momo, because Ida, Momo, Todoroki, because Todoroki doesn't know their family yet, but like no, not really Todoroki. Actually, never mind. Sorry, that's my bad. I'm gonna backtrack Todoroki because Todoroki likes to stay in the back of the room. Uh, Ida, Ida, Momo, and that's pretty much it. I think Jiro to an extent because she would think he's a gearhead, kinda, because of the helmet. So yeah, so he gets along with those three. He doesn't get along with Bakugo because Bakugo's too hot headed. Hiroshima is cool, but he's not like they're not like friends. Kaminari is a no because yeah, that's kind of a fucky situation. Uh, what's it there? Ochako's a no because Ochako is yeah. Tetsuyu maybe because you can kind of see the relationship, but no. Uh, Sugar Rush no. Bird Guy no. Dark Shadow's cool, but I mean I can't give him that. So Momo, Ida, Jiro, and Carmine are walking to school pretty much, and they're basically. I mean, Jiro basically addresses the elephant in the room and asks him like, "Hey, why do you wear that helmet?" And he says, and Deku basically replied, "Oh, it's family tradition. Sorry, I can't really take the helmet off in front of people." And she says, "So you're basically like the Mandalorians." And he says, the Mandalorian. Oh yeah, I watched that. Yeah, it's basically like that, but it's not a religion. It's more of a matter of fact, it is a religion. Fuck. And she asks, "So what happens if you take off if the helmet falls off during battle?" I mean, during a fight, he says, "I put it back on." And she says, so there's nothing significant behind it. Nope, it's just head protection. Her, so why don't you take it off now? He says, don't really want to. And she's like, okay. Ida's like, well, you're sticking to your family's code, so that's pretty honorable of you. And Deku's like, yeah. And I'm like, I can't. It's more like voices, like my family, like everyone follows that until they're in the house. Then we all take our helmets off. And Momo's basically like, so you think I can like make a helmet like that? And he said, Deku basically say, it would be kind of hard to because there's a lot in these helmets because, and then while walking to school, he explained the whole history of his family and why they're like that. And they're like, and Mo was like, oh, he just like, that's something else. And Momo's like, that's fucking, I mean, I say Momo. Jiro's like, that's fucking sick. And yeah, he explained his whole storyline. I said storyline, his whole family line. And that's how things went. So they get to school, and pretty much the same shit in canon is happening. And then they get a call to, Aizawa basically walks in like, hey, so get suited and booted, we're going to the USJ. So they all head in, put their gear on. Kirishima still watches the Deku like, dude, tell me your fucking workout. Deku will obviously say, I can't, it's a family secret, my bad. And Ida's like, yeah, it's a family secret. Everyone looks at him like, you know something. And fucking Todoroki basically like slides over the deck and he's like, so, that firework is close to my dad. Damn, I drooled on my laptop. Fuck. Oh no, the mouse pad. Fuck. Okay, that should be fine. I hope. I don't want to record from my fucking phone again. We all remember how that was. That shit was terrible. Especially with these headphones. I need an upgrade on my phone. But knowing my cheap ass, I'll probably stick with the same phone and complain my whole entire fucking life. But yeah, to continue. And Todoroki basically slides up on Deku, and he says, hey, your quirk is kind of close to my father. And Deku, knowing that who Todoroki is and his father, he says, well, technically I'm your cousin. And Todoroki's like, excuse me? I beg your pardon? And Deku's like, yeah, your mother, and he explains it like, your dad has a sister that married into my family, and I'm basically your cousin. So what's good, bro? How you feeling? And Todoroki's like, excuse me? And he's just looking at him, and everyone in the room is just like, yo, what the fuck is up with this guy? First the helmet, now he's related to Todoroki. Ida knows something. There's too much with this guy. So they all walk out. Todoroki's just talking about the firework and why he uses it. And Deku basically says it like, yo, this is my fucking quirk. It's a combination of two fire quirks. It's not Endeavor's, it's my quirk. Same thing with your fire and ice. It's not his quirk, it's your quirk. It's in your body, it's part of your DNA. It's yours now. And basically just gives him a little tap on the head and walks on the bus. Now Todoroki's thinking it, he's like, hell no, this shit ain't mine. And Deku basically looks at him like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. And basically, like, walks on the bus. And, the conversation's continuing like usual. Then, fucking everyone, and then, basically, to see you ask Deku the same question about the helmet, he says, I can't take it off, yada, yada. And they're basically asking him questions. And then someone asks, oh, why is your armor different from when we were in the fucking hero exam? I said, heroes versus villains. He says, you're talking about the new arms I installed. Basically, he says, well, because of that exam, I kind of figured that it was that it was going to be close range, because I have a button on here that I can change where it is. So I kind of figured because of the buildings, it was going to be close range. So I changed to more close range means. But I don't know what the situation is here So I just put it in default, which is covering the arms. And then he switches to assault, to defense. He switches to a whole bunch of modes. Oh yeah, whole bunch of modes. Where the fuck did my English go? My shit is back in the fucking lake. Give me a second. All right, I am back. So, where did I leave off? Yeah, I left off with basically him showing off his modes, and he says, so that's I make my own armor. Though the people in the fucking he basically explains that the people in the engineering classes want to tinker with it, and I tell them like, you can make something that could help it, but no, you're not messing with my armor. And everyone's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they get to the thing, and basically, Carmine, Benjamin, all the Carmines basically like tap his head like, hey, I know it may seem kind of weird, but keep on your toes. Something doesn't feel right. This may be us going in a battle, but like, if this is a wide open space, so I suggest you go for like more practical means and go to like your medium armor, so you can move and still be strong, but have a good amount of defense. Deku says, he basically listens to that, and the whole class sees him go from default, which is light, to medium, which is like, think of a combination, if you played the games, of Anthony and Benjamin armor with the clay chestplate. It's kind of like that. Lizzie is basically assault. Clay is heavy, close range. Anthony and Benjamin are are defense and range. Benjamin is more range than Anthony. Anthony's defense, though, like, I know it's kind of awkward because, kind of got, I'm not even going to go into it. It's just, safe to say them guns in Gears 1 used to jam a lot. If you remember Gears 1, for those who played it, yeah, that was a bad, he was good, but that gun fucked him. I'm going to just say that. The Lancer fucked him in that scene. And then Clay came in. He was like, hey, y'all gotta fix... No, it was his grandfather who basically said, hey, we fixing this shit and getting better armor. And then I'm just going off topic. Then Benjamin died, and his father somehow recovered Benjamin from a fucking dead worm. I don't even know what the fuck the father is made of at this point. And basically, there was nothing to be fixed with the armor. It was good. It's just Benjamin got fucked up. So basically, like, the only thing they say is, okay, it's basically said fix to make it easier to breathe. Then Clay was still in the army. He removed his arm things. And because of his father, Clay survived a headshot from a random person. He was like, what the fuck? And yada yada. Lizzie just got fucked up with circumstances. She was goat tier. She just got fucked up due to, let's see. I still don't like him, so I don't even know. I don't even remember his name. But dropped the fucking laser on his own position and killed Lizzie in a fucking truck. It was the Hammer of Dawn. I remember that now. Okay, so now I can continue. So everyone walks in, and actually, I think it's 13. Yeah, I think the hero, it's a she. I think the Hero 13, Hero 13 is explaining things. Deku and them are listening. And then they basically teleported in. I said teleported in. They walk into the fucking examination room. Well, it's not an examination room, but you know what I mean. They walk in, and same shit happens as Canon. 13 gets fucked up. Aizawa is 1v1ing people, and everyone is separated. But this time, Deku is separated into, like, a place with heavy fire. No, wait. Yeah, heavy fire. Because they didn't know where they were putting people. Because if they did, they wouldn't have put Tetsuyu who has a water quirk in the fucking water. But they basically separated the team. So the people who are with Deku now are Todoroki, and fucking Jiro. No, not Jiro. Todoroki, Jiro, and Momo. So they're in the fire place and everything. And Deku, knowing that it's too hot, Clay and them realizing that it's too hot, he says, "Hey, change to heavy," and he changes to heavy mode, which allows his arms to be free. Because no one carries guns in that day and age. Besides All Might, we know All Might's packing heat walking everywhere. That nigga All Might has the gat. This man has the Glock. I don't care what anyone says. All Might definitely is packing heat wherever he goes right now. He said, "Let's defend themselves the same way as people did before Quirks." Pulls out a fucking Glock 11. Glock 19. I don't even know. I just said Glock 11. I was thinking of a Mac 11. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so he switches to heavy mode and he sees villains that have wind and fire quirks. And Deku basically says, okay, so... No, they don't see it, but Jiro basically sticks her headphone into the ground and hears, where the villains are. And basically, Deku basically tells, okay, Momo, you stay here. Me and Todoroki will deal with them. You defend Jiro, because she's helping us out. And because they all have... Because Momo created a radio thing for all of them, they can hear each other. So Todoroki and Deku are basically beefing about... I'm going to say about 10 guys. They take 5 each. So... that I know that's gay, right? But... pause. But anyway... So they get to fighting with them. They're picking them off one by one. Deku is fighting the mainly wind-based ones because he shoots fire at them and it accelerates it, so they stop. So Deku just basically runs up and gives them the mean fucking hands. What I mean by hands is Deku is basically giving them hands, kicks, and command grabs. You don't know what a command grab is? Think of a grab in any fighting game that is just a move. Think of Jax from fucking Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11. Fucking Android 16? Yeah, Android 16 from Dragon Ball FighterZ. That's a command grab. Basically a move that is just legit a grab and slam. And he is fucking them up. He's grabbing them by the faces and slamming them to the ground, tripping them and dropping his leg on someone's chest. He's just beating the shit out of them. And then, they cleared everything out. Jomo. I was about to say Jomo. Jiro and, what's the name? Momo get the clear and they run out to help Aizawa, which is currently getting, is dealing with people, but he's getting tired. And then... he goes to fight the Nomu, goes to cancel his quirk, and oof. Basically, the same shit happens in canon. He gets his shit rocked in. And I'm going to just do this for plot convenience. Deku runs over and switches, and Anthony says, whoa. Basically, Anthony and Benjamin say, whoa, what the fuck? And then, basically, Clay says, defense mode, and he switches to defense, which is heavy armor. And... when the Nomu was about to fucking punch down Aizawa, Deku basically gets in the way and takes a hit and is sent into the ground, making a crater. And because of defense mode, he's fine, but that shit hurts to an extent. And Aizawa was able to break free and get both of them out of there. And what happens next is what's his name? What's the fuck is this nigga name? Creepy Scratchy guy. I'm gonna just call him Scratchy for now because I don't remember his name. Scratchy, before this, touched a little bit of Deku's helmet, and not the helmet, the goggle part, and disintegrated some of the goggle. And what he seen was just a fire eye. This man had to It's a Sauron Ring of Fire eye. Like if you don't know what Sauron is, you can look it up. His eye had like complete fire in it, and like as soon as like he backed up a little bit, he shot a firelight key blast and knocking him back, knocking Scratchy back like a couple feet, and basically putting heat into his chest, basically letting them get away. Then all of a sudden we get the I am here type fighting. That happens, the same happens in canon. All Might's yada yada gets away, and that's that. But on the bus ride back, basically like Deku with the one arm, like Benjamin. I said not Benjamin. Basically, the Carmine's like examine everything, and they see that okay, so the armor's damaged in the arm parts because he cross guarded. I mean, not cross guarded. He X guarded with it. The back is kind of damaged. Your back is kind of damaged. Your helmet goggle part is missing. I'm kind of glad no one had a quirk, like a gun or something there. That would have been terrible. And basically, they're just talking it out while Deku's just sitting on the back of the bus, and he has his head down like he's thinking. But people can see like the cracks in his arms and the cracks on his back. So basically, I'm gonna say Aizawa walks up to him and says, "Kid, that was a dumb move, but thank you." And Deku says, "Don't mention it." Ida basically walks over and is like, "Hey, you okay?" And Deku basically says, "So, basically, my ribs are cracked. My wrists are fractured, and basically, my back is sore. Basically, my back is bruised." And basically, he's listing off what he has. And then, he looks up at Ida, and Ida sees his eye, and he's like, whoa, wait a second. Is that not right in your belly? Deku says the helmet, not the eyes. So, Ida is talking to him, then Momo joins, and she basically says, like, hey, what's the goggles made out of? I mean, the glass part made out of? He says, I can't really tell that. I can just fix it on my own. Well, at least let me repair the armor. He says, I have to repair it on my own. And they ask, why is that? He says, family tradition. And they're like, oh, okay, we see. And then, fucking, what's the name? Earphone Jack Girl says, yep, just like the Mandalorian. And Jeku's like, heh, basically, like, chuckles at that a little. But besides that, yeah. So he goes home. He walks in the door, and his family basically meets him. And they say, okay. And no, he doesn't go to Recovery Girl. He just goes straight home. And his family, because it's a month, so he's good on that. He just won't be participating in some things. So he goes, and his family, he goes home, and his family, sees, we see what happened on the news. What's the damages? He says, okay, so cracked ribs in the back, fractured forearms, arm guards cracked, back brace cracked severely, eye socket missing, disintegrated. And they ask where the disintegration part comes from. And he says Shigaraki, because I just remembered his name. This guy with the weird hand thing, I think his name, he says this guy with hands on his face, he had a disintegration quirk, I can tell because he had to touch me with 5 fingers, and he almost, if it was any closer to the head part, he would have got rid of part of the helmet. I'm glad he got rid of part of the glass, though. And they're like, okay, do you need anything? He says, give me an aspirin and give him some bandages, plus the repair kit so I can fix this armor. They basically give him all that. He goes upstairs and fixes himself and the armor. And no, before anyone says it, no, he does not hurt. He bandages himself up in the places where he sees his hurt, and he fixes his armor. So a month passes. And in that month, I'm going to just say Deku's been practicing his quirk, and he realized he can have the fire feet like Shiro from Shinra from Jump Force. That being said, he can basically control the fire coming emitting from his feet and do all that. And he found it out when Clay was like, "Hey, so I want you to try something." He says, "Okay, focus fire into your feet." Deku says, "Excuse me? Focus fire into your feet. Did I fucking stutter?" He says, "Okay." Puts his foot out the door. And I said, out the door. Puts his foot out the window. And a whole fire thing happens. He's like, "Oh, well." And Clay says, "Yeah, think of it from Benjamin and Anthony, who thought of it." Lizzie's Here's the schematics Lizzie came up with just in case you did do this. So here you go. Here's your new, like, that's going to be your new shoes from now on. And he said, and Deku basically says, "Okay," gets to work on that. And now he has flame-proof shoes that he can use anywhere. So a month passes, and yes, the hero exam. I say hero exam. Yeah, it's a hero exam. It's the tournament arc, basically. Because every show has to have a tournament arc. So the tournament arc happens. So I'm gonna say like 2 days before, basically that week before they're informed about the tournament, and Aizawa basically asks like, "Hey, so Deku, how you feeling?" Well, he says everything's back to normal. I just need like another week. I should be good in time for the tournament. And basically, like, Ida says, "Hey," Aizawa says, "I still owe you for that. So here," and he throws him like he gives him some bandage. He gives him like his bandages, and he's like, "Okay." Deck is basically saying, "I can work with this. I can see how I'm going to use this," and puts it in his bag because he already looked at it, and he's constantly advancing his own thing. So he looked at it and he scanned it to see what it is. So it took like about a minute. So he looked at it for a minute. He's like, "Okay, I can work with this," and put it in his bag. And he said, and basically as always says, "Okay, so here's the rules. No, you're not in your hero costumes. You're in these uniforms. And basically gives them to him. I mean, gives them to everyone with their exact sizes, so it won't be uncomfortable. So that happens, and a week passes. On that day, we see everyone basically show up to the exam. And Deku's family basically shows up. Not that, yeah, Deku's family is in the crowd because yeah, they're not gonna sit there and watch in the fucking stands. I said in the fucking. They're not gonna sit at home and watch it. So, one sec. All right, I'm back. Sorry. So his family gets into the crowd, and they're basically in like, I would say there's multiple members of them because you remember it's a huge family. There's like the lower branches and the higher branches. The higher branches are like mainly in the upper echelon of the crowd, while the lower branches are in like all scattered around. So you see a whole bunch of people in like different kinds of helmets. Some people wear like bandanas on their face with goggles and hats because they're all over the place. Like, because they hear one Carmine is in UA, they're like, "Okay, so let's all head to UA basically to support him." So he has the whole Carmine family there. There's the outcasts of the Carmine family who tradition is to wear the bandanas on their face or some sort of skiing mask, and they'll put the goggles on and maybe a hat. The mechanics of the Carmine family or whatever the normal people wear like police officer uniforms with their masks designed for that, and anything like that. So they all have different kinds of masks. Like the police officers have like the airsoft looking mask. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So his family is there, they his family's there, like the whole everyone in his family. And then we flash to Deku. You don't So now here at Deku, basically Ida, he's standing there stretching. And Ida's basically saying like, "Oh, you nervous about this? I mean, everyone, and I mean every fucking one in your family is here." And he says, "Everyone?" And he says, "Everyone." And he shows him like a video of it on his phone, and he sees like a whole, like he sees all over the crowd is like everyone. And Deku's like, Well, the Carmine family is deep. So, yeah. And Deku says, no, not really. And then you get the prideful motherfucker walking over like, well, you should be. Class 1B is about to kick 1A ass. And Deku basically, like, the inner Clay and Deku turns around who the fuck said that? Like, who wants to get their shit stomped in this early? Turns around, this is prideful mofo, Mortimer, and Deku almost punched him in the fucking face. No, I'm lying. No, actually, he almost did. And he almost was about to punch him in the face for getting that fucking close. And then he was like, nope, can't punch him in the face right now. And Clay is like, why didn't you just punch him in the face right there? He says, I can't. And while he's doing this whole spiel, and Deku basically like says, so what I'm hearing is you're prideful because you're more likely your quirk is a copy quirk because there's no way you're prideful as hell. And you're smaller, so you're preparing to steal someone's quirk and use it against them. And it basically gives them the whole thing about, yeah, your quirk is pretty fucking obvious, you prideful son of a bitch. And after that, Mortal was like, how did the fuck did you know? And he's like, well, you're too prideful for one. Your quirk isn't a body type quirk or mutation because I can't see it. So I narrowed it down because no one that prideful would get that close to me without doing something stupid. And you, my friend, have done that. And then Mortal says, well, that helmet is illegal. This helmet is legalized because of my family. Oh, you're the Carmine. And he says, yeah, and what's it to you, you prideful bastard? And then Mortimer basically backs off because he realized Deku's taking no shit from him, and he feels like he's going to get punched in the face at any fucking second. Which he was. He kept talking shit. Son of a bitch. Anyway. So, the guy with the brainwashing quirk basically, like, says, hey, what you on here? And then Deku basically, like, says, hey, and then he stops, and then he got brainwashed, and he's like, huh, so this is his quirk, and then snaps out of it. And Mortimer, and the guy is basically like, how the fuck did he just snap? And he says, well, honestly, your quirk is yada yada, that just happened to me. So I'm going to say it like this. Your quirk is good if someone doesn't have mental will. I have a whole bunch. Your quirk is good if someone doesn't have mental fortitude. And basically says, you two, if you don't get away from me, are going to catch heat to the chest. And then there's a fire fist. And Mortal is basically like, oh, so that's your quirk. I can copy that. Tries it and burns himself. He's like, oh yeah, my fire is hot. And then the test begins. Deku basically said, and Ida basically is like, oh, so you're just gonna stare? He says, no, I'm focusing on what? Fire feet, and he's basically floating off the ground. And because the 0 pointer was in the way, he jumps up and basically like puts his foot on the 0 pointer's face, like basically turns his foot a little bit hotter, like if you ever watch Sanji from Sanji from One Piece, the Devil's Jambe, he's having his foot like that. Puts his foot in the 0 pointer and is bringing it down with 1 foot. And then as soon as it gets close to the ground, he just like it slams and then he just like flies off. Like this is a close ground flying, so he's not like flying like into the sky. So he's clearing like everything and he gets there first because no one else is going to match him because Todoroki's freezing everything. But Deku's just flying above him, in front of him. And he gets there first, Todoroki get there second, Bakugo third, Ida fourth, so forth, and on. Why the hell is my nose getting stuff right the fuck now? What the fuck is going on? Always when I'm fucking recording is bullshit happening. So, after all that, like, Deku was elected for a speech. And I got that back assword. I know that, but it's like, well, because the people who made in the arena, Deku basically gets like a long-winded speech that inspires like everyone to do their best. Matter of fact, give me a second. I have to do my best to blow my fucking nose. All right, so he does that speech. Everyone feels encouraged and inspired, except for Mortimer, because Mortimer's a dickhead. So Deku basically like after the speech is like everyone's like, yeah. Mortimer basically like after all the yelling, he says, "So the Carmine family sucks." Basically, while Deku is walking off the stage, he says, "So I hear," and then Deku basically like is on the mic, so he's like, "Oh, those. Oh, so I guess those are fighting words." And he's and basically says, "I mean, if you want him to be." And Deku basically jumps off the podium and says, "So was good then, pussy." And like they get set. Deku's the one being held back. Mortimer isn't. It takes like 10 people to hold Deku back. His family was about to jump in, but they're like, "Nah, they got him." And as that happens, basically, like they ask Deku, like, "Hey, so basically, like because Deku, I'm gonna just change one thing. They're like, all right, so the the winner. I said, so you get to decide that Izuku. I said when they said his name, what do you want this to be? This part of the exam, and they give him like the headband things. He says, I want this to be Class 1A versus Class 1B about one-on-one fights. And then he says, and I challenge him to a fight. And as soon as that happens, it's like, all right. And he said, and everyone basically evacuates the ring. Deku cracks his fist and said, I've been waiting for this for a minute with your prideful ass. And Mortimer's like, what? I now understand your quirk. You ain't gonna be able to beat me. And then he does the same quirk as Deku. Deku basically like is smart. He's like, okay, does he have a? He's thinking like, is there a limit to this quirk, or is it just? Huh. Basically, a whole bunch of things are popping into his head, and he's like, and Clay says, "Hey, you're overthinking it. Just get this guy. Just knock this guy the fuck out." And basically, like, the fight begins. One of them basically throws like a fireball at him. Deku basically like grabs it with his own, grabs it with his bare fucking hand, and says, "This is fire. This shit is child's play." And basically like disperses it with his hand. He says, "This shit is fucking child's play," and runs up and beats the shit out of Mortimer. I mean, Mortimer tries to throw another fireball. He smacks it into the air and just just gives him like the boxing hand, giving him 10-piece combos with a side of fries. And then it's like Mortimer's like we're trying to back up and try to do something. And he gives him another 10-piece with fries. He keeps on giving him 10-piece McChicken nugget with a McFlurry, just fucking his ass up. Like, I mean, fucking his ass up. Like, he's a bloody mess right now. And then Deku's like, hey, here's a little heat for you. He loads up. His feet turns to fire, and everyone's thinking like, oh, he's about to kill the kid. He blows up and kicks him square in the chest, and the fire like after thing happens, and he kicks him straight out the arena and incinerates his shirt, leaving a burn mark on his chest. But it's not like a bad burn mark; it's more like a oh shit burn mark. So with that happening, damn my fucking nose. So much fucking dust in here. So with that happening, that's the end of that part. Everyone else duels, and it's the same shit as Cannon gets to that point. I'm not about to animate every single fight he gets into. So he gets in, and this is what happens. So the fights go as Cannon, yada yada, Ochaku. Well, he gets to fight brainwashing quirk, And I'm gonna tell you how the fight goes. So he walks out, and the Carmine family instantly knows, like, oh, this fight's over. And and then the fight begins. He starts trying to talk to him. Deku walks up and headbutts the shit out of him, and then just gives him a McFlurry too. I mean a McFlurry. He's like, and just fucking him up. And then just kicks him out the ring, and he's like, he's backing him up the entire time. And he's just like, do, and beating the shit out of him. And then like, he kicks Mortimer out the ring, and that's it. And they're like, really? That's it? And Deku basically walks out, and he's like, yeah. Anyway, I was watching something. Sorry, that's my bad. So Ochako still loses, and that whole thing. And yada yada. So walks in the hallway, and holy shit, that fucking spirit was stacked. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Uh, Walking by, and he sees Endeavor in the hallway. He's like, "Oh, it's Endeavor." And Endeavor basically says, "So, how's my sister's quirk holding up?" And he says, "Well, it's my quirks. Thank you very much." And Endeavor's like, "So, I hear you got over so you got over the cost of my fire." And you said, and then Deku says again, "It's not your fire. It's my fire." And he says, "It's my family fire." It's like, my family had a fire quirk too. Your sister married into my family because of you. And made me. And then he says, well, Todoroki is going to beat you. He's going to use that fire side and beat you. He's like, actually, no. I know Todoroki better than you. He doesn't want to use the fire side that you want him to use. He's going to use his ice side. And then he's like, and how do you know that? Because I'm more family to him than you will ever be. And then he just walks out. And then the whole thing with, like, Todoroki happens. And Todoroki basically tells him, like, I'm not using your fire. And then they get into the ring, and basically Deku's telling him, like, hey, this isn't from me, but it isn't from your father, but it's from me. I suggest you use that fucking fire. And Todoroki says, and why so? Because if you use that ice, I'm going to burn through it and beat the brakes off of you. And he says, well, if I use the fire, then it's even. Almost. Then it's almost even. And then he says, prove it. And the match begins. He shoots an ice thing at Deku, and Deku just steps on his ice and basically causing it to go into steam. So he causes it to go to steam, and then he's like, see, I'm telling you, better luck using that fire. And then Todoroki hits him with the, well, what do you know about my fire, yada yada. And Deku says, I know enough. And basically, like, they get into their stances and shoots ice. Deku still melts it. He basically, like, just kicks it, and it like breaks to pieces. He runs through it and socks Todoroki, and then spin kicks him in the chest, uppercuts him, then kicks him again. Then you're sending him out the arena until he froze ice behind him. And then Deku, by that time, was in front of his face, punches the ice. Then you're sending himself out the ring, steps on the ice, does the walking and backflip animation, lands, and basically spinning back fist Todoroki into the center of the ring. And then Todoroki's like, and he's saying, use your fire. That's the only thing that's going to be able to touch me. And then Todoroki's like, no, I refuse. And then shoots another ice thing. Deku catches it with his bare hand and says, this is weak. and then breaks it. And then he's like, but yeah. Basically, that's happening, and like the whole fight continues. And Todoroki keeps shooting ice at him, and he basically just keeps on beating the shit out of him until Todoroki says "fuck it" and sends a fireball at him. Deku like almost catches it, and then he's like, "Oh shit," and ducks it, and it hits the wall behind him. He's like, "That was fire." Okay. And then he loads up a fireball and throws it at Todoroki. Todoroki blocks it with his fireball, and he's like, "Finally!" And then it becomes a firefight. This is on some Avatar level shit. And basically, how it ends is like, after a while, Todoroki gets exhausted from the fire side, and Deku basically says, "You fought well," and basically chops his neck, putting on the sleep, winning. Now to the Bakugo fight. Now Bakugo's just looking at him like, "Oh, so I finally get round two." And Deku says, "You're not winning this fucking fight. I'm telling you this now. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Like everyone else should have done. But you're the most prideful of all of them." And basically he's saying like, "Oh, and how are you going to stop me? I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. As I said before, that explosion won't do shit." And he says, "Prove it." And basically the match begins, runs up and explodes Deku's helmet. And no damage. Then Deku just like says, "Oh, how about a little heat to your face?" Flame punches him, and blood, basically the whole mouthpiece animation from a fucking fighting game happens, with blood spitting out spitting out a fucking what's the name? Bakugo's mouth. And then he staggers back. He's like, "What the fuck was that punch?" And then Deku comes out with the right uppercut to the fucking midsection in the gut area, and basically like knocking, basically folding fucking folding Bakugo like on his fist, and then releases that and punches uppercuts Bakugo, sending him like flipping damn near to the end of the ring until he caught himself with his hand. And Bakugo's like, Bakugo's like basically like hurting badly. He's like, "Okay, what the fuck?" And then Deku's just sitting standing right there and never even left his spot. He's like, and then he gives him like that Rock Lee expression, like "come." And these two like fucking Bakugo like swarms in, and now they're swapping hands. But Deku every time would catch him with something sly, like he would throw a punch, and he'd come back with an elbow and just rock his shit, then kick him in the stomach, sending him rolling across the ring. And after a little bit, it was just like them two just fucking each other up. It's just nothing but fight, fight, fight. And he's just like beating Bakugo at everything he does. Like Bakugo would throw a kick, Deku would catch it, slam it into the ground, and would almost slam his foot in his chest. Bakugo would like roll out, and then stand up. Then Deku would catch Bakugo with the same kick he threw. Basically besting him at every fighting thing he's doing. And then like when Bakugo's like, "I had enough of this," and jitters up a big explosion that when it connects with Deku, basically incinerating his shirt and breaking his goggles. And Deku basically lifts up his helmet and like you see like a ball of lava under it, because that's where they're supposed to be. Like, and then like the glass under it, he's like, "Okay, now I'm mad." And he sees like the fire eyes that I explained before, and Bakugo basically like backs up for it. So he's like, "Wait." And then Deku basically says, "Nope." And these two runs up on Bakugo. Bakugo tries to defend, kicks him in his leg, and then kicks his legs in, Bakugo's on his knees, and then has the Konga expression, not the Konga. If you want the whole fucking has both his fists on his, has one fist upside down on Bakugo's chest and one on his head, and then he says, "Yep, and he says Flame Destroyer," and just like cocks his arm back and punches him, sending Bakugo spinning out of the arena into the fucking wall, thus ending like the whole tournament with him winning. And he went into the crowd, and his family covered him up, as they put it. And then Midnight came into the arena, rose his hand. Deku closed his eyes and looked at all the members of it, and all the members of his family realized it. They jumped into the arena, covered Deku, and basically like surrounding Deku as he puts in like a new thing of like the glass over his face. And then they all left back to their seats. And they're all celebrating, and that's the end of the episode. Hopefully you enjoy part 2. It's gonna be a little bit different because I'm gonna be recording in front of it. So yeah, peace, and I'm sorry about that, but I can't apologize for being sick. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, peace.